All right, welcome back to Modern Mondays here at Guardian Games. We're Portland Paper. I'm Travis Cooper, hanging out with director, producer, disc golfer, electric car range calculator,
Ian Lunger.
and we're watching two round number one winners here. Gonna see some fish. Our resident SCG champion, Vinny Balistreri, is playing. Grant?
Not Gruel Eldrazi. That's what he won the SCG with. Just, you know.
Oh, right. Yeah, Vinny did win the SCG with Eldrazi. Was it mono red or was it
No,
Gruul?
Gruel.
Gruul. Okay.
Yeah, red green Eldrazi.
And we're playing against Murktide, so see how the fish do against the dragons.
Yeah, the fish are going to like the natural islands in the Murktide deck. We'll see how they deal with the Unholy Heats and the Lightning Bolts.
Oh, wow. Balling out on the high roll there. We got 2 6s. Okay. Looks like Vinny's going to be on the play. I think that's pretty important for both of these are essentially tempo decks. Vinny's going to have some tribal synergies, but we don't know Vinny's build. I'm imagining there's going to be some like force of negations, maybe some brazen borrowers. I don't quite know what the counterspell package is going to be. Maybe counterspells. Who knows? But basically wanting to resolve a threat and then bounce some things, turn some things into some islands, and yeah, go from there. Looks like we've got.
Wait, are those the Alpha Bolts that you were talking to me about?
I think Grant might be playing some Alpha Bolts. It's true.
Travis and I were talking. There is a player that plays a Guardian that I think has Alpha Bolts.
I thought I was going to be the Ballerus Bolt player with my Beta Bolts, but I've been outballed here.
Yeah.
Very bad 7, so I'm gambling. So I was told by my Discord
All right,
not
Travis.
to do this, and I was like,
All right.
I'm gonna do it anyway.
We'll see.
We'll
We'll see them when they get.
ready
We'll see them when
here.
they get
Get
played,
the
Travis.
preset ready.
We'll see them when they get. Give us the wide view.
Alright, 2 to the bottom.
You.
You like that transition,
Yeah,
director?
that was nice. That was nice. Nicely done.
All right,
Vinny's
Vinny's
down to
a
5.
5. Ouch.
Alright.
We got a vial.
better.
We got lands. We got
Let's go.
spells.
Odawara to the bottom. Island to the bottom, I think.
I'm gonna ending that.
Looks like
let's
we
go.
have Vile Cavern,
Play.
Waterlogged Grove,
We will go.
Merfolk of the Pearl Trident,
in revive.
and maybe a Curse Catcher.
I feel like if I'm gonna lose my life, it's probably gonna be mostly all ones.
I have not seen Curse Catcher in a long time.
Might not be the Curse Catcher.
Kind of doubt it's Curse Catcher.
Okay, probably not Curse Catcher.
Yeah.
Track and see what you draw next. Okay.
Oh.
Will pass
Love the 2 creature, 2 Aether Vial hand.
Not really what you want to see if you're Vinny on a mold of 5.
Looks like Grant's got 2 bolts, 2 Murktides.
And
Consider.
we'll play another Say go.
Vinny's just desperately hoping that Grant decides to Spell Pierce that vial. Please.
Oh boy. We're loading up on removal here. Are
Yeah.
you going to keep that heat or put it? I feel like there's a tension there. If you already have 2 removal spells and you're wanting to get a Murktide out,
Yeah.
kind of like bending it.
Agreed. Yeah. I think it's a good call by Grant here.
Scalding Tarn.
Yeah, we drew a Ragavan for the turn,
Fetch
so
and shock.
I'm almost interested in a dash right now because once that vial ticks, once you start getting both vials active, you're going to lose the ability. Like Ragavan just might get stonewalled. And right now, it's pretty safe to attack, knowing that you're just going to. You might trade for a 1-drop, and I think that's okay because you have the Murktides in hand.
Yeah, I'm kind of okay with either. I'm okay with like just tossing the Ragavan in play and not
Dash
dashing
the Ragavan?
also.
Sure.
Is it 2 for 2?
I'm gonna activate Vial before blocks.
Sure.
I'll put in Tide Binder.
Okay, it's a Tide Binder, which I believe is the one that turns things into islands if you kick it.
Yeah, not to be confused with Tidebinder Mage, which
And
taps down red or green creatures. and
Okay,
it's a
I
2-drop.
believe Vinny just ripped a Svelun off the top, which is actually like really, really strong in this matchup. And as it's a 4-butt, I believe. So might actually let Vinny get back into this game.
You know what? I'll also.
Yeah, I mean, I think Grant's going to consider we're going to get a Murktide played here. Very curious if Vinny's going to be on Team Brazen Borrower. If so, that could be a really strong tempo play. Otherwise, yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a race here.
No, I'm gonna shock.
All right, Grant fetching and shocking, so we can get double red. So we do have the 2 lightning bolts in hand. You might want to use those all on the same turn.
I mean, nice to get out a big Murktide, but you know, seeing the difference in the amount of damage that the mana bases deal is that could be a real factor in this race.
And 5.
Oh man, if it was just one more instant or sorcery in there, this would be a 2-turn or 1-turn clock basically. On Grant's next turn, he could attack for 8 and then bolt twice, but we're 1 short of that.
Instead.
Well, Vinny's at 20.
Right. Oh, right. Yeah, Vinny's not at 14. Vinny's at 20.
Yeah.
2-turn clock. 2-turn clock.
There we go.
Go to 15.
Put in Lord.
Quality commentary here.
Merfolk at +1/+1 and
You know, like you said,
Good.
chat, you get what you pay for.
put in Dockhand.
And for those of you who are actually supporting us, I'm sorry. with money. With money. Those of you that
Let's
are
zoom
supporting us,
in and see what this
stop.
Dockhand card
It's
does.
it's in
We have
Russian, just like all of Vinny's are. It's a Rishadan port on a Merfolk. You can pay 1 and tap it, tap down a land, which I do not anticipate we will see. I think that it's getting in. I'm going to take that joystick away from you.
I have 4 mana off on that.
It's my car, man. It's my car. I can drive it. For mulliganing to Vide, Vinny's had like
Activate here.
despite drawing the second file on a
Summon
first draw
Seeing
step, has
Sky.
had kind of runner there.
And
For real. Yeah.
Multi-type shooter.
Yeah, doing very well. Like,
Yeah, so,
all the cards are out of the
spending
hand.
cents,
There's a
Indestructible, as long as I
significant
control
amount
two
of
other
pressure
Merfolk.
on the board.
When it attacks, I draw a card.
Sure.
All my other Merfolk get Ward 1.
Ward 1, great.
And Ward 1 is actually going to
Let's
be
go
a
to combat
huge pain
and
for
go
Grant.
to swing for 2 without.
I'm gonna.
Pretty much needs, probably actually at this point, needs to leave the Murktide back and get the Lord off the field. I think you have to just accept that you're going to play the control role at this point because you're not winning this race. So if you do fetch an island, you can get through 2 wards.
So this is
You're
a lower
probably
as well?
getting
Nope. Just
the
gives everything Ward 1.
This is the
Merfolk
3/3.
of the Pearl
Other
Trident,
Merfolk get
and
I'm going to lightning bolt this and pay the 1.
probably
for the
just the,
and
man,
then
I don't know what you go for, what other fish you're going for.
I think I'm attacking there, and then holding back the bolts, and then if Vinny vials in stuff for lethal, then bolting the Lord. But if not, then the second attack of Murktide plus the
And
2
what
bolts
does
in
the
hand
island
is lethal.
Well, we just got rid of a
this has
bolt.
island
We
block.
had to get rid of a
On
bolt.
its
Yeah,
own,
no.
this gives
Before
other
Oh.
before that happened, that would
That's
have I
all
would
I
have
remember. So this gives
attacked
them
past
ward?
the turn mana
This one gives
open.
them Ward 1.
but
Well,
it's
you're
also
going to
indestructible.
die. If the
It is
Lord's still on the field, you
And this
die.
one can tap a land.
This
That
one
one
has
taps a
one.
land. And this one.
ETB draw a
This one I
card.
get this a
The
lot, right?
unblockable
Yeah.
plus the island walk is
ETB draw
definitely
card.
going to kill you.
Gotcha.
When I cast it,
So
I have
I
to
think
reveal
the
a
Lord
Merfolk,
had to
otherwise I have
go.
pay 3 more.
Okay.
This gets +1/+1 as long as you control an island, which you definitely do.
Yeah.
Those bolts are really dope.
I think
I feel like I wouldn't have made the move and wait to see what Vinny would do.
Yeah, I think I agree that like you didn't necessarily have to make it right there. Although Vinny is empty-handed, and if Vinny like,
and then.
although I guess
that
Force
will
of
grow
Negation is
this
pretty
guy
useless
over.
here. Actually, yeah, any counter magic is basically
will-
useless here.
oh, yeah.
So I think I'm with you actually.
I'm gonna go ahead and swing you for 8 in the air.
Sure. Good.
Okay, that's a reason why
Tapped out.
Grant
All
would
right, you gotta have some sick
cast the bolt
rips.
first is to grow your Murktide, so that kind of makes sense. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Draw a card. We will.
So I think
play
Vinny
land
took
switching.
8 there.
We will. You're at 11. This is 1,
Take it down.
Okay.
2, 3.
Just
Yeah.
really out trigger on the
Sorry,
stack.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11,
Push
12.
seconds.
So
I
I
have
think the
game
play is
clubs on the stack.
On the side.
9, 12. This is 8,
Vinny's
9,
doing
10,
some
11, 12.
math
So yeah,
here.
has to win right now.
And
Go to combat.
I will.
We'll swing with the team, attack trigger. I'll draw a card.
Grant's plays have actually looked very good here, huh?
So,
Yeah, that was great. That was
Yeah,
wonderful.
really well navigated.
Wonderful
actually.
sequencing. I thought Grant had passed the
This
turn
has
without
+1/+1
attacking,
because
but
you control one.
that makes a lot of sense if
So
you were
that's two.
bolting pre-combat to play the
2,
second
1, 1,
Murktide.
2, 3,
Murktide.
4.
That goes to-
So you have to target something.
It was navigated very
I
well.
will up to 1. It's
And
up to
Vinny
1.
was,
so
you know, rolling the dice there to see if we
2,
could get
3, 4, 5,
a
6,
lord
7,
off the top
8,
that gives Island Walk.
What? Sorry, this is very confusing to me. So what's giving?
This just gets +1/+1 if you control an island.
And then the rest is just
Face value.
Face value. So we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage going in.
Yep.
I will.
So 8 damage coming in. You
Attempt
do have
to
to
block.
respect a lord on Grant's side. So although
This
I
one's
guess
not blocked.
Vinny probably
Where's
would
this
have
one?
already
This one's
played
not-
it.
It's down, yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and try to block here.
So Grant's gonna toss in front of the Silver Gill. I like
Yep,
this.
that's fine.
I think
So
even
3,
with
4,
a
5, 6.
like a +1/+1 effect, assuming Vinny did have one, which again I think we would have seen it vialed in.
And this dies. And
Vinny's
still
on the hard
bonus.
bluff
We
right now. Like,
will
make your
cast
opponent think you have something to
Yes.
block.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
I love it. Yeah.
Yep,
Yep, you got it.
Okay.
Didn't
Looks
have
like
to
a chalice.
saving
Looks like
pulses,
Vinny
like,
had a
should I bull you?
chalice
I
in
don't know.
hand.
Something. Just check so you can bounce
granted the
stuff
whole,
too.
I had the 2 bolts in my hand anyways.
Yeah.
Let's just rub it in a little bit here.
At 13 right now.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, when your opponent's on a mold of 5 and gives you a game, you gotta just let him know.
Yeah.
You gotta let them know what was up. They never had
Yeah,
it,
you probably
even
have
if,
something.
even if they thought they might have had it.
It's not like with Merfolk in mind, though. You know what I mean?
All
That's
right,
the thing about
fish
playing
down
Magic,
one.
It feels like when you're going into your matches, it's like throw a dart. And then what are you gonna play against today?
One of them,
Tron?
and then
Sideboard. Let's see. What do we have from Vinny over here?
take a Risen Reef.
Force of Negations look like they're coming out. And this looks like a mono blue version of fish, so.
Looks like we just have the Horizon lands for the draw a card
Shot,
ability.
20.
So all 4 forces are coming out. What is coming in, Vinny?
I mean, Chalice is knowing what you're playing against, and then having Chalices in your deck. That's going to enable some mulligan decisions too. Chalice is very, very strong in the matchup.
Yep. So Vinny wants to bring in relics, echoing truths, and it looks like a Cure the Great Glass Spinner. Echoing Truth is an answer to Murktide, although, like among answers to Murktide, it's one of the sadder ones. But I still, given that likely Vinny's creatures will be able to kind of get in unblockably if there's any lords around, I think just buying the time with Echoing Truth, we could see even last match that Grant wasn't going to be able to actually deal with Vinny's board, so Vinny just buying another turn to attack would have been great.
Yeah, essentially this is a tempo mirror, and just being able to bounce vapor snagging a creature or unsummoning a creature is like a fine play to make, especially when you have to use a fair amount of resources to cast Murktide.
Fair.
Yeah, chat. Word on the street is that Grant's bolts are alpha bolts, which is pretty darn cool. Right, Travis?
I love some OG bolts. I don't know if I would be playing with alpha bolts, but yeah. See, what do we have for Grant over here? What are we working with?
I just saw they reopened the Goonies house.
Really?
Yeah, it's been closed since pandemic time.
That's cool. I'd love to go check it out.
Yeah.
I've never been.
Looks like Archmage's Charm is coming out.
Yeah.
Seems like that's a slow card. You're not trying to gain control of a lot of one-drop creatures.
Mystical Disputes look like they were being thought about, although doesn't look like that's what got put in. A little tough to see.
Counterspell out.
Man, it's just so dependent on what the sideboard looks like. Okay, the disputes are coming in.
I could see if you have enough stuff to side out, disputes are fine. Counterspells are pretty bad when your opponent is going to be playing Cavern of Souls and Aether Vial.
Yeah.
In the matchup, I kind of like it. It's very player draw dependent. I do like siding out of the counter spells. And yeah, just if you have removal siding it in, Rest Down's a pretty good sideboard card if you have
These
that.
games are pretty fast. Playing against Merfolk
It's
is
very
like-
possible that Grant is kind of deciding between some bad options here, as like both Counterspell and Mystical Dispute are kind of like medium depending on Vinny's hand. It does look like I saw at least one Blood Moon in the deck for Grant. What are your thoughts on Blood Moon against Fish?
I wouldn't side it in. I feel like it's sometimes not the worst card in the main deck. Like it's not totally dead, but it's not powerful enough to side
That
in.
hand seemed pretty good.
Because
I had no counter
the
spells.
effect is traditionally it
Oh,
turns off like stuff like Feud Vaults and Cavern of Souls, but if you're siding out your counters, like a 3-drop that enables your counter spells isn't something that is usually going to matter that much, or enough to be worth a full card. So yeah, I'd prefer more proactive cards, or even just
Sure, that makes it harder.
potentially leaving some amount of counters in. Subtlety, I think, is a consideration, because that also gets around Cavern and then is just a blocker. So yeah, don't know what's in Grant's sideboard, so sort of hard to give some solid judgment there.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, Blood Moon it's a little awkward at times for the Murktide deck because it makes
Alright,
their
on the play.
fetching kind of a challenge because you would want to make sure you have 2 blue when you play the Blood Moon, and you're really going to have to be aware of your life total in this matchup.
It's like Grant threw way too many lands there. If I'm going to keep in a card, I sort of like keeping in Archmage's Charm just because the draw 2 is somewhat relevant. Yeah, and then sometimes you can get sometimes stealing one of the 1-drops might have some ramifications for like the game and this tempo type situation. So hard to say without knowing what the plan is. Are we tilting chat with riffle shuffling some alpha bolts?
I think it's great. You know, cards are meant to be played with. We're out here with kids' toys, and we're gonna enjoy them.
Is that what is the
2 different Arts of Blood
okay,
Moon,
I was
think.
thinking it's the second blood.
Yeah.
Maybe would have kept the other art in hand if we're going to be really nitpicky
What?
about mulligan choices.
No, you have to keep the Invocation art if you're gonna keep this hand. I don't know what you're talking about, Travis.
Scalding Tarn, play Mishra's Bobble. Bobble myself.
Yep.
Slow Scry, we got it.
Yeah.
So there's a Ragavan in hand. I'm a little surprised that we bobbled. Like, I have to imagine that we were going to cast this Ragavan regardless, right?
Yeah. So you didn't really get much value off.
The bobble scry at that point. Maybe would have done it afterwards or checked what Vinny was drawing. I mean, I believe Grant is on a 1-lander, so it's possible that if Grant... Are we going to miss our bobble trigger, Grant?
No.
Okay. It is possible that Grant would have actually held off on playing the Ragavan if there was a land on top.
Pass turn, I'll draw and keep off my bobble.
Chalice for 1, Vinny.
Put Chalice on 1.
Bobble turn?
Dead cut.
Nade not that, you can go.
Say go.
We did just miss the bobble draw there. Unfortunate.
Counter.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can shuffle. Just shuffle the deck. Just shuffle
That
the
was
deck.
totally my bad. Oh yeah, because it's countered from the.
Yep.
Yeah, my bad. Sorry about that, dude.
Grant's so excited to find a land, but Vinny does have a
Okay, so
Chalice
this is
on
countered.
1, which is going to make it way harder for Grant to
That's
find a
what Chalice
land.
does.
This could
It
be
is
a quick
exactly what Chalice
runaway,
does.
Trav. We
Both
might be
actions.
seeing
Yeah,
a...
well,
you know,
For 2.
don't want to call it over before it's over, but we might be seeing a pretty quick game 3.
Ouch.
Fury.
Let's.
Faster?
I love how badly chat is tilted by this. It's so funny. Okay, we got to land off the top. Shredder is in business. Engineered explosives on 0 to get the chalice off the board, also in business. So maybe Shredder into
Ledger
explosives
Shredder.
on 0.
Yep.
And
I think that's
then
reasonable. I think I would just explosives on 0 and get that blood moon out of there.
Each player can't cast more than 1 spell each turn.
And then can I trigger?
Pass. Yep.
Okay.
Wow. Answer to the second challenge,
Yeah.
potentially.
Yeah, we're going to toss the blood moon.
What card is that?
That's that blood moon.
Oh, blood moon.
And then I will pass to you.
Last turn.
Oh. Vinny definitely has a clock going on here. Odawaра's a nice like backup potentially if we have one more land.
Crown of Emiria.
What is that card do?
You have
player can't
creatures,
cast more than 1
instant,
spell
land,
each turn.
artifact, enchantment. Yeah, you got a million ways to
So,
make
I mean,
them for opponents.
What are we deciding on if we're on Vinny's side here, you think?
You have 2 cards left?
Because
2, yeah.
it feels
Well,
like
I mean,
Lord of Atlantis is just
Counter in modes. Counter in
gotta happen, right?
That's 14.
Like second Lord of Atlantis.
Alright, let's.
Okay.
I think
guess
it was
I
playing
land
Odawara
18?
are holding it.
Yeah.
Because then you can get Lord in and
Play
still
another
attack
Lord.
with Mutavault, but
Ouch.
Odawara is pretty
Enemy
valuable
here.
against
These are now
a card
3/3s?
like Murktide.
3
so
3s,
I
both
think
have
that's
Island
fair.
Walk, 4/4 with Island Walk.
Ouch.
Come in for 7.
That is happening.
It's actually a solid chunk of damage, and Vinny's basically saying unless you deal with something on the board here, you are taking lethal next turn. Representing 10 damage. Grant does have the Brazen Borrower and an Iteration. Iteration is bold here. What do you think's going? Why do you think we're doing Iteration instead of the? Because we can't cast a 1-drop here. This seems a little surprising to me. I would have expected to see the Brazen Borrower held up because you really could have actually blown Vinny out in that you can bounce one Lord of Atlantis and then that makes the other Lord of Atlantis blockable.
Yep.
10. I'm gonna die next turn.
I'm agreeing with everything you just said there, Ian. Good analysis.
I'm making sense.
You're making sense.
Game
we just
2, all right,
needed to
coming
get
into form.
we need to get warmed up a little bit, you know.
All right, we're in
Get the
form,
juices
chat. Watch
flowing.
out.
And then I will pass to you.
Tap, upkeep, draw card. Let's animate Mutavault and come in for 10.
Is that 10?
Yep, 3 3 3 3 4 4.
Oh, that's right, because the one didn't attack last turn. I thought
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
going to Gotcha. Good game.
All right.
Yeah, I feel this is interesting. We got some comments going on in chat where, like, Murktide is one of those decks that I would compare to, like, Delver and Legacy in a way, in that it is, like, very powerful and, like,
Right.
good,
Games, yeah.
but, like, is pretty skill testing, where because it's such, like, all matchups are pretty close, and you very rarely have blowouts. Like, there is always the potential of, like, a turn 1 Ragavan that's not answered, but a fair amount of decks have something that's similar that you have to play, like, super tight lines usually, and you can get pretty, like, tempo decks can get, like, really punished by, like, one small mistake, especially when you're playing against another tempo deck, and I think we kind of saw that play out a little bit in that game.
Also, those fish are tricksy.
Yeah.
Tricksy fish.
So
Ooh,
if
there's
I
a
do
spell
engineer
snare
explosives,
available. So
is that
Grant
explosive
took out the
versus
blood
poison?
moons, which I agree
Murder
with.
man
It looks like
passes
there
two.
is
Or is that
kind
mana
of looking
value
at a
is
couple
2?
spell pierces and also a spell snare. I am 100%
Sorry,
on,
what do you, if you
like,
cast EE on 2,
I'd
is that
put
what you're
spell
saying?
snare
Yeah,
in
so
the deck.
say, sorry,
Even
no,
though Vinny's playing Cavern,
EE has 1 axe.
I would
so long
rather
as you're
have,
casting it
I
first.
would
So
really
what
rather
chalice
have
would, like,
either
if you do
spell
X
pierce
is
or
one, X is
snare
two,
than
murder mana costs
blood
2,
moon.
murder mana costs It's 2.
But I think I would take snare over pierce. Although pierce is quite good on the play if you're trying to snag a vial from Vinny.
Yeah, so I play a fair amount of Murktide decks, along with some other stuff, but in this match, when you're playing against a Chalice deck and you're on the play, you want in all of your spell pierces, all of like your spell snares. Counterspell,
That's
not
probably
as
true.
great, because really in this matchup, using your removal for the creatures and your counters are for the non-creature spells.
Yeah.
So being able to, like, Chalice is so important to deal with. So yeah, being able to tag that with a
That goes to hand.
2 of your spell pierces or the 1 of spell snare. Usually that's a current list or playing that split of the cards is important. I like not having counter spells on the deck, maybe keeping the Archmage's Charms in there, depending on what else. But yeah, Blood Moon doesn't seem impactful enough.
Yeah, I think maybe there are some matchups where, you know, depending on your board, it could be worth keeping in a copy. Because you are shutting down Mutavault, you're shutting down Cavern. But I just think it's not really what this matchup's about, and it's a little bit slow. And especially on the play, I'm absolutely in agreement with you. So it looked like Grant kind of split the difference. We did side back in 1 counter spell, I noticed, instead of 1 spell pierce. So we kind of did, I think it was 1 spell snare, 1 spell pierce, and 1 counter spell, I believe, went back in the day.
Alright, you're on the play.
On the play here.
Ooh, that's a land.
Actually, that's something that would change this game a lot. Okay.
This feels like a very keepable hand from Grant. There's no pressure, but at least 2 expressive iterations and a bolt to answer Vinny's early play. Also a mystical dispute. So you kind of have you have Vinny covered on a couple different axes early on, and then you have a way to kind of gas up and take control of the mid game.
Yeah, this Cavern's going to put a bit of a hitch in the mystical dispute.
You can't cast more than 1 spell.
I know. This is a activated ability.
Oh, you're doing
Shock.
Yeah.
Respond.
That's what I didn't realize it was
We're
enchantment.
fetching and shocking here for Grant.
Kicker, if I kick it, I can turn something into an island. It gets +1/+1.
Vinny's got a great curve of, you know, having a 1-drop into 2-drop Lord.
Yeah, definitely solid.
In response on the cast, I'll exile Prisoner.
Sure. I'll go search.
Probably going to see the bolt here. I think. Oh, Grant, don't do it.
Count unless I pay.
Don't do it. What?
What?
Right?
Reserve results.
What?
What?
I don't know how. I don't know what's happening.
Jesus
My
Christ.
analysis is failing me.
And then I will.
Our resident SCG champion, Vinny Ballesteri.
Did he name something that wasn't Merfolk from the Cavern? I'm so confused. I mean, you know, 1 for 1.
And I'll pass turn.
I don't. Grant's a genius. I don't know. He just got he just got somebody. I don't know.
I'm gonna retire.
Yeah. Moving on in this close game. Interesting to see Grant just play the land, fetch and pass. He's looking at possibly the iteration. I don't think you want an iteration when you have already played your land.
Well, we do have that
Is good.
treasure hanging out there.
Enter combat.
Yep.
Okay,
We're
good point.
gonna flash in Merfolk Trickster.
Attempt to.
Cavern of Soul.
Oh, yes. Good.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You couldn't have Cavern of Soul.
Oh, was that the first one you played?
It was.
So just
Vinny is realizing.
No, you can't even counter. I think you should have a mystical dispute back in your hand. Is what I think is the right call. But
We're gonna have to see here.
yeah, we should just call a judge.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna. Just get up and get
I'll be
them.
favorable. You had a it couldn't be countered, so it should be on the field.
We're gonna get a judge in
You
here.
can block.
The judge is we're gonna be honest. The judge is not gonna be super happy to be like rewinded to like turn 1 and be like, hey.
I love it. Oh my God, this is so much fodder that we're getting right now.
So
we do.
What about this?
Yeah.
mystical
This
dispute?
one.
We usually go out and grab some food and beverages with Kenny
So
later.
this
So
had flashed in.
Yeah. So we'll tap.
just
regulate
no
and lose
chat.
all
Just no
abilities.
chat.
Yeah.
We'll do it justice. We'll do it justice later.
If chat wants to give us something really good, like a spicy one-liner, we can tell Vinny later.
Yeah.
Feel free to throw it in there. We'd appreciate the help.
One-liner for Vinny. You know.
I mean, I was thinking it was a next level move of like let the one mystical dispute resolve, and then when Grant tries to go for the next one, you're like, yeah, it doesn't work, buddy.
That is what Vinny did. That is what Vinny did.
Go to combat. Sure. Let's get in for 2.
Feels kind of fair though, right? You know, Grant got one to work out, and the second one was actually cast. But
MTG player 1, that's decent, but I feel like it would have to. Travis and I would have to independently say that to Vinny at like different times this evening. It can't be like around the table sort of discussion. But yeah, I think if that's like driven home, that's a good.
Yep, that's fine.
Ooh. Oh man, that is fantastic.
This is gold. This
that
is gold.
Is fantastic. Oh, chat. So proud of you all. This is truly delivering. Wait, what? Did we really cast an Unholy Heat with an island?
Yeah, that's cool.
You're good.
Wait a minute. No. It was consider. It was consider chat. It was consider chat.
Here we go.
Yeah, I'm just thinking.
I almost got by chat, you know,
Yeah,
so I was trusting him so much.
Travis is really ready to get out there and save the day, but you know, chat.
I put on the brakes.
Every so often, there's a nice chat bait.
Off a cavern. Let's play.
Fair. Fair not today, Jones.
I mean,
That's
we're
fair.
consummate professionals at the booth here.
Yeah.
We know how to differentiate between alpha and beta. So what more can you ask us?
Well, actually, I don't.
Oh, it's the rounded corners.
Oh, okay.
I know you have to learn.
Yeah.
You boarded and go. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I was like a linebacker out there. I did almost take out somebody. And I do that for you, Chad. I do that for you.
It's important.
You don't have to tell them that.
I know, but it's not. I said that.
Play them off.
Yep.
I can see what you're going to draw next.
I assume you'll check on cast, so I'm not worried about it.
Okay. Looks like Lord on top.
Then I'm gonna.
I mean, Grant is getting a lot of card advantage with these expressive iterations, but gotta see. This is the test, right? It's like Grant's bobbled and then did a bunch of other things. Like this is where you test your metal. Do you remember that bobble trigger? Because it can be a challenge when your turn is this complicated and you're thinking about a lot of different things. It's much easier when you like bobble and then pass a turn.
What's left in the graveyard?
Sure. I should have delirium if I believe. So.
Yeah, instant sorcery, artifact, land. And this is for 5?
For 5, yes.
Okay.
Good. That's good.
I will then pass to you.
Bobble trigger Grant. Bobble trigger Grant.
That's, you know, I play a fair amount of Murktide, and I still like, I use a $50 coin that I place on the table, because you're juggling so much stuff in your head about like balancing how you're balancing a stack, casting spells, like different triggers and actions. I like having a physical reminder like, hey, draw a card.
16.
So
Untap.
You made 11,
hot,
right?
hot tip.
Yes, sir.
And it looks like we missed it there.
Yeah.
Okay,
So both players still at relatively high life totals. I mean,
even bobble trigger.
Grant really can threaten Vinny quickly with this Murktide, as we saw game 1. Extremely powerful deck is Murktide. Okay. All right, so Grant is remembering the bobble trigger. We are at a casual REL, so is allowed to draw here.
Well, even at like a comp REL, a bobble's not a maze, so they generally, if not enough game actions have occurred, they'll put it on the stack.
Really?
Yep.
Oh.
That was a change in rules a few years ago, which was along the with the tax triggers changing. So
Okay.
Same change.
16, this is 3. This is 4. And
What do you need? You
go to
want to
combat.
You got another lane. You
Swing,
can
swing
tap
for
play
3 and 4.
Both
Ooh,
Ballista,
okay. 7.
Helios,
7, put you to 9.
9, yeah.
And
Okay, so Vinny's
will
putting the hurt
pass
on.
turn.
Is threatening lethal next turn, and is holding up Force of Negation in hand. This does put the screws on Grant. There are 2 red sources and 2 bolts in
All of them
hand.
have Island Walk. These are 3 3s. This is a 4 4.
I'm going to attempt to.
Play on it.
It's
You're
definitely
at
an awkward spot
19
for
life.
Grant.
19 life. Don't take any damage in my deck.
I'm gonna go ahead and try to bolt your
Draw
guy
the
here.
misery.
And how many cards left then?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Play gain 4, go to 15.
So
Grant's
Vinny's,
sitting on a borrower and another bolt, so Vinny's going to be at a.
I know,
tough
yeah,
spot.
yeah. Like Vinny's really thinking about the Force of Negation here, but I think you got to let this one go, and that's the conclusion that Vinny
One of
comes
these
to.
naturally is Island Walk. Yeah.
So
This is now a 3 3 with Island Walk, and this is just a 2 2.
so now
I think I'm going to.
Grant has to decide, do we kind of back that up with now bolting the other Lord effect? And I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, sorry. 4 cards left now?
Feel like we gotta hit the Lord here.
I'll swing both at Teferi.
Shakiest play ever.
Ooh, this is a tough one. I think I'm kind of.
Fetch twice.
I think I'm kind of okay with this if I'm Vinny, because you have another
Oh,
Lord
Force
in
Pitch.
hand, but.
I'm gonna attempt to counterspell that.
Don't you also go back up, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll go up to 17.
Ouch.
So
And I
this is
will
interesting.
play a
Grant bolted the Trickster.
tap
It was
player.
maybe a little bit confusing there because Vinny
Go to 11.
Vinny answered Grant's
that's
question.
back to you.
Grant had asked which of these has Island Walk. Vinny said the Trickster has Island Walk, which is true. I mean, the Lord is what's giving it +1/+1 in Island Walk. So possible that I think maybe the Merfolk of the Pearl Trident or whatever that is in Russian. So it's possible that Grant was not exactly aware of
Oh man, this is so rough.
which one was giving which.
For like Vinny has the answers in hand.
Enzo is in the backup match, yeah.
Vinny has answers in hand. We've got a bounce with Odawara for the Murktide, but then I think there's also, is that a Silvergill that we have as well?
Sorry, delay this graveyard.
It's a big graveyard, Vinny. There's more than enough. He's like, oh yeah, there's some instants and sorceries in there.
it's a busy graveyard. It's a busy place in the Murktide deck is the graveyard.
You could see he wasn't looking for Delirium. He was like, how many instances? Oh,
Yeah.
that's shit. That's a lot.
That's plenty.
You know everybody's rooting for Merfolk.
Yeah, playing on camera is such a different experience. As somebody who like makes mistakes in the booth, just like literally watching and talking about games, I when I played on camera felt like I'm totally under the lights and out of sorts. So can't knock it till you try it, I suppose.
Oh, we did not attack. I'm curious what the thought is with that.
Yeah, maybe block a dash Ragavan. Maybe feeling like.
I don't think that's a winning position.
No, I don't really think so either. But okay, we're gonna go for the Brazen Power bounce.
And then attempt a dash Ragavan.
Oh, that's actually pretty good for Vinny because you can bounce the Murktide, and and Grant's not gonna get to replay it.
Right.
Enter combat.
Yeah, entering combat.
Let's flash in Merfolk
I
Trickster.
don't think it bounces.
And
Well, we had no Odawara.
Oh,
let's tap the
right.
Murktide.
But okay, so Odawara will have to then come down on. Vinny will have to use their entire turn or Grant's next turn to bounce the Murktide, as there are no legends out there to decrease the.
All right, and then I will pass to you.
7.
No blocks.
Still tough. I mean, yeah, still. And so Vinny chose, I believe, not to sack
ways
the
to win.
Waterlogged Grove there. You a little surprised to not see Vinny toss the Grove? I guess had to make the decision. not knowing if they would draw land, and so Odawara is only turned on with the Grove in play at this point. With Vinny not knowing whether they would draw land or not.
Ouch. Okay, so it's bounced.
I think at this point, Vinny needs to double spell
Yeah,
to have a chance at winning.
Right.
So
yeah. I think I kind of would have liked to just see Vinny go for the playing to win line rather than what felt like maybe the playing not to lose line there.
Yeah.
Flash and flying.
5
I
mana.
think I would just.
I'm gonna cast you.
Really puts things into perspective. You know, you watch the Merfolk deck play 2 mana 2/2s, and then you watch the Murktide deck play 2 mana 8/8s. And you know, the Merfolk are trying really hard to get Island Walk to be unblockable, and you know, Grant played an 8/8 flyer.
and with flashing in the borrower on the end step,
Make sure I
8 plus 3 is 11.
So I have 1, 2, 3 draw effects, 4 Risen Reefs, 1 on that, 1 Oath of Missile, 1 Solitude, 1 Endurance. Ignore the Endurance.
And he
I'm gonna
has
choose
Rishadan
Fire
Portfish.
1, 2,
The
And-
Island Walk, 1
cards
tap a
drawn.
land.
Again, I'm going to resolve
Merfolk
pass
Lord.
check.
On the step when I took the flash and brazen borrower.
Sure.
Fairy.
Have to imagine this is curtains for Vinny as long as Grant attacks. Looks like Spell Pierce and Spell Snare in hand.
And,
Yep, go to text.
and,
Yep, you got it.
Got it.
and then
Right,
you
that's
get
gonna
this
do
That
it
was
for
like
us.
very scary depending on what you
Bump
drew.
over and see what we got on
One
our
more
backup
bounce
match
and then-
here.
Oh,
Oh, boy.
boy. Oh,
I had a handful of
jeez.
counter spells, but those
This
became
is
lands.
Yeah, Captain Soul's good.
table number 1.
All
Good
right.
games.
Games you too, thanks, man.
Just go one more.
You know,
Good
that,
plan,
that
dude. I feel like I
seems
never
like
get a plan, dude.
creativity
Always
to
playing
me.
Jake.
Or not
Yeah.
creativity, that
Who's on the
seems
other
like,
side of the room?
Yeah, we haven't played in a while.
will, help me out here, Ian.
Maybe
Cascade.
the Heliod.
No, it's a on the left.
Oh,
Like,
it's
running my
it's
entire
4
sideboard
color.
and take out a big
It's
chunk
just
of
4
material.
color
I don't
control,
know.
but it's the traverse build, I believe,
I
is
don't see a
what
whole lot of sideboard cards either.
we saw.
I'm just glad I didn't run into like all counter spells. That's the main thing that matters.
So
There's a lot of permanents on one side of this
Yeah,
battlefield.
yeah, and then it looks like we're playing against
The
what
Island
is
Walk
this, like a
nice.
Heliod?
And then the Cavern of
Likely
Souls
a
is good, too,
Heliod
but
list
it's just
Yeah,
a-
I don't
the
actually feel
clock
that
thing.
bad about that matchup.
for
I feel
Tyler.
like it just depends on lucky draws. and stuff,
Ranger
too, but,
captain
yeah.
there.
My friend just lost with his this deck to Affinity, and I was like, ooh.
Sure.
Mystical Speeds, that's what it is.
And getting a ballista. Gonna go help them with life totals.
And if you could find the match score, that would be great too.
I think that's about right.
Here you go.
Okay,
You all
chat.
mind? Oh, not. You're good. Enzo, would you all mind updating the life total?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Are you all 1-1? No, he's 1-0. Okay.
Oh boy,
So one of, so
looks like
uh,
looks like Enzo might be 1-0 here.
You were at 17, but
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
you
6,
shot
7,
11. I'm at 11.
no, I'm at 16.
Yeah, you're 16.
10, 11.
Is it 1-0
yeah,
Enzo?
that's why I'm confused.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
16.
1-0 Enzo.
You
Clock's
had 17. Do
ticking.
you have any land
4 color is just has a massive amount of permanents on the board.
This is still on the same turn, so I am still so I'm at 17 right now. You're saying?
That's what I thought you were.
Okay, sweet. I'm at 17.
Because you said you were fetching down from 19. How did you lose 6 off of the?
I shocked, so I think I.
Okay.
So I think I should be at like 15.
Okay.
I shocked. This is still.
So
Holy-
my second main.
Holy,
Yeah.
Enzo's on
Main,
full
private
full
attack.
grip of cards.
Not that I'm going to.
feel
I
bad.
cast this. I cast this.
I take this out now.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Give him back his dice.
I will move the pass check.
Okay. End of your turn.
I'm just overwhelmed by the amount of permanents.
I'm gonna unholy heat.
Quentin, you know, this is a Enzo special for sure.
It's
Well, I mean, 4 color, you know, I do think the combo decks are a good way to fight this deck. in general, we seem to have stepped into this match at a point where creature combo, it is going to be very difficult to combo with creatures, as I think Enzo has at least 2 Solitudes in hand and you know, absolutely massive board presence.
Yeah, I think we entered probably, I'm just guessing, post like Urian flickering a bunch of things.
Yep. Yeah, it does feel like we kind of entered in the close the door phase of the 4-color control deck.
You know you're screwed when someone bounces your ranger captain.
Yeah.
And doesn't care.
Well, and Tyler just sacked it, I believe, too. So.
Solitude. It's fair.
This is gross. This deck is gross. I hate this deck. I like Enzo.
It does, yeah, it does provide, from an entertainment standpoint, you know.
It's not fun to watch. It's really not fun to play against.
When the Lord of the Rings set comes out and Tyler can play Gandalf, maybe Gandalf will have some ability to take out, you know, like some infinitely large board presence. But yeah, it's
I mean, like all of the cards just draw cards or do stuff for free, and you just play your
that's
cards.
17 damage with a ton of cards in hand and a impenetrable board presence.
Oh yeah, the deck shuffles a lot too with 80 cards. That's a fun thing if you're playing against it as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
But you know, the win's a win. So yeah. Enzo takes it down. Is going to advance to 2-0 on the round, as is the Murktide deck. So slowly the pillars of the format that hold up the rest of our weight of brews. They hold up the ceiling, and the rest of us fall away.
Wonder how Andrew's doing right now, fighting the good fight with the spicy
mono
Cabal
black.
coffers.
Right there, I was again just trying to thread the needle to, you know, if I could just gain a little bit more life. So, yeah,
yeah. What do you?
I'm not gonna say it was like
What are your
the best play.
What are your thoughts on companions at this point?
Better just given
I think I have the popular opinion that I would not really hate to see them go. I was a player who actually really enjoyed playing Lurrus. So maybe it's because the companion that I enjoyed playing got removed from the format. So you know, I feel like if that's going to happen to me, it might as well happen to everyone else who enjoys a companion.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's some big vindictive ban hopes.
That's right.
I sort of think that, you know, I have feelings about it, but with, there's all these like regional qualifiers going on right now, like in E and Pioneer and Modern. And as much as you may or may not be having fun with the format, it feels like different results happen each week. If you look at MTGO, like you can win with a lot of different stuff. There are like defined good things, and there's a lot of like decks that are basically kind of the same piles, but with like 15 different cards. But I don't think anything is going to get changed until we have the regional championships in Atlanta, and then maybe after that there might be some changes. But I think folks are probably going to want like a stable metagame for the rest of the qualifying period for that. So I think where we're at is where we're going to be for a few months at least.
I think that's a decent call. Also, I mean, it's not really going to be that long before we have Modern Horizons 3, a.k.a. Lord of the Rings, a.k.a. Gandalf Takes Over, coming out.
I've been totally like blanking that out of a thing that's happening. It's not on my calendar.
Well, you know, Frodo's headed to Mount Doom, and you can't do anything about it, Travis. The ring is going to come in off of Urza Saga, and it's going to get put on the Pure Steel Paladin's finger, and then you're going to die.
Okay, so I'm behind the times. Are these cards that are actually spoiled, or
No, I haven't.
Okay.
None of the cards have been spoiled to my knowledge. I'm just messing with you.
If you play,
I mean, it would make sense that the ring is some like zero,
Or
either
1
zero
mana
equip
artifact.
cost or like, you know, zero cost CMC artifact. So
I agree. I think what I said is not out of the realm of possibilities.
too.
In any case, okay, chat, we're blathering away. We are going to take a short break before we start round 3 of 4 rounds here at Guardian Games for Modern Mondays. Thanks for sticking with us, and yeah, enjoy some tunes. We'll be back in a moment.
Removal regardless, but you have more creature removal than enchantment removal, and if you hit my Utopia Sprawl, I'm probably happy with it. So
I've always seen an ending on that. Now that heal that, you're happy.
Exactly. So I might switch to that build. I played a lot of Coco. I did not feel comfortable going to that number of creatures.
Yeah, I mean, that deck, like a really good card with my deck, but I don't think you're gonna want to splash blue for Mania. That card is really good.
I've seen plenty of not even but you have to vote it.
I think you're better off, like, you're in splashing blue, you're better off running Mania. Coco hit and it's really good. He's also stops looking at That's true.
Lavinia, Azorius Renegade. Wow, really?
Yeah.
I can't cast non-creature spells with permanent mana cost greater than the number of lands I control.
That's why I can't pitch elementals because I can't